All right, what's up, everybody? It is Monday, the 24th of April, and do we have a lot to talk about on today's program? You don't want to miss it, so stick around for End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's up, everybody? I hope everybody had a great weekend. We are back in the studio. It is the 24th of April. It is Monday, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about on today's segment. If you are new to the broadcast, let us know in the comment section below that you are new, where you guys are joining us from. We'd love to hear from you. And again, if you'd like to keep up with our ministry, want to hear more, don't want to miss anything, be sure to download our free app. It's available on Google and Apple stores. Get it today. Download our free app. Hit yes to push notifications. You're going to get every headline and every podcast. Just FYI, our tech team is working on the back end of the app. There is some people don't get the push notifications, and we are trying to investigate that and why that is. We are going to get that fixed soon. So again, please download the free app. We don't have a subscription news letter or any kind of email base that we rely on. This is how you keep up with our ministry, is just downloading the free app. Again, it's available free. Get into your hands, hit yes to push notifications, and this is how you're going to keep up with our ministry. So we want to begin today. Again, we've got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about the big media shakeup that's going on both conservative network, and I say that very lightly, conservative network, and then a very liberal network. Two major shakeups going on in both of the biggest and largest news media outlets as far as mainstream media goes. Then we're going to talk about that today. UFOs are in the spotlight again. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go to 6 cattle have mysteriously died in Texas with their tongues, what it looks like surgically removed. No blood, no traces of this. This is nothing new. We're going to talk about that today, again, because this is resurfacing in Texas. We're going to talk about the Earth. Recently just got hit with 2 powerful solar flares and what that caused. And then we're going to close it today with China in the news again with the recent announcement of an artificial sun. They've ran another test on this thing, and this beat a record 4 times faster than the previous world record that was held. So let's get after it. Let's start out with the big media shakeup, big news media shakeup, rather. I'm going to pull this article up. As you guys know, many of you guys know, on the 19th of April, there was an official announcement that Fox News settled with Dominion with more than $787 million, close to $1 billion settlement to avert defamation trial over, and again, this is a publication from CNN, over its 2020, quote, election lies. In case you didn't know this, because maybe you're like me, you don't even like politics. I try to avoid it by all costs, but today I thought there was some stuff going on that I think's interesting, and I'm going to throw a perspective, my own opinion out there at this, and then we'll move on. Fox News reached the last-second settlement last week with Dominion Voting Systems on the Tuesday of last week, as the case raced towards opening statements, in which Fox News paid more again than $787 million to end a colossal 2-year legal battle that publicly shredded the, quote, right wing's network credibility. Of course, this is coming from a left-wing publication, which is CNN. So you take that how you want with it. But nevertheless, I didn't even really want to talk about that portion of today's topic, rather than the news that came out today that I believe is directly involved with that. So we're going to build up to this. First of all, right after that came, we also saw the departure of Dan Bongino, who also left Fox News. And now, according to Bongino, when he left, he said on his podcast that the reason why he left Fox News was simply a, quote, matter of failing to reach agreement on a new contract. And he even went further, to say that him leaving would lead to, quote, conspiracy theories. Well, after today's announcement, it seems like he was right, because now this was the huge breaking news today. Fox News Media, Tucker Carlson has parted ways from Fox News. Again, earlier this morning, Fox News announced that Tucker Carlson has agreed to part ways from the network, wherein which he announced this again this morning, early on Monday morning, quote, we thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor. Now, again, there was no goodbyes, no farewells, nothing. His last segment was Friday. Today, he's gone. I want to pull up some media clips of some reactions to this. Check this out.
All right, I got to give you some breaking news. Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Wow.
Holy crap, just broke. The way it's phrased is his last program was Friday, April 21st.
Wow.
So no goodbye show, no, hey, this is why this is happening. Just bye-bye. Holy crap.
Why do you suppose that is?
I mean, the thing that jumps to my mind is just $798 million or whatever it was on this situation with
He was the best
Dominion.
of them.
He called out Sidney Powell famously and said, you have brought me no evidence. We keep asking you for evidence and you will not bring it.
I'm telling you, the left has their fangs in Fox News.
The speculation was that this penalty would, we talked about it, we talked about Jim Garrity's column just the other day, where he said one of the risk factors, or what do we learn from this? And one of the things that he said he thought major media companies would learn was don't put hosts on the air that you think might be risky, quote unquote. And I mean, if he wasn't right, I think he's proven right just a few days later with that one, because if this is what it looks like, it certainly seems like they're just trying to get rid of anyone who might say anything they don't like.
Now, shortly after that, I thought this was extremely interesting, and I want to pull this article up to you and show you. Right after this announcement, within literally a couple hours, if that, CNN announced after 17 years they have fired Don Lemon.
Breaking news, Kaylee actually said, what took so long? CNN is parting ways with star anchor Don Lemon. The network made the announcement just a moment ago, actually. And it says, quote, CNN and Don have parted ways. Don will forever be a part of the CNN family, I guess, but he can't work there. And we thank him for his contributions over the past 17 years. We wish him well and will be cheering him on in his future endeavors. Don Lemon also speaking out, writing a statement. Here's part of that. I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. So clearly they see this differently. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to work. I have loved at the network.
His statement went on to say, quote, it is clear that there are some larger issues at play. Oh, there most certainly is, Mr. Lemon, but it's not as you would imply. Let me say that again. There is definitely larger issues at play here, and we're gonna get right into that in just a second. This is the whole reason why I wanted to discuss this today, because again, if you guys know us and you know me very well, I don't like politics. I try to avoid it at all costs, but there's some things that we just have to discuss, and this is one of them. Lemon's termination comes 3 weeks after our sister site Variety published an expose. Now, again, this is from tvline.com, quoting this. that there was an expose launched from Variety magazine saying in which more than a dozen of Lemon's former and current colleagues outlined a pattern of allegedly misogynistic, inappropriate, and quote, diva-like behavior at the cable news network. And more than 2 months after received backlash for a sexist statement he made on CNN this morning in February. But apparently, Mr. Lemon thought he was untouchable and that this would never come back to bite him. So he's, quote, shocked that he has been fired.
You're fired! What?
But can I go to it now? I want to go beyond this. Here's where I think's interesting. You can call this coincidence or whatever you want, but do you think it's a coincidence that two of the biggest leading cable news networks just fired some big chief guys at their programs? So here's Tucker Carlson and Fox News and Don Lemon. Again, this guy was not a rookie. This guy had been there for 17 years. Both individuals was almost like the face of these networks. Both of them was let go and both of them was removed the same day. One, Fox News, alleged that Carlson and Fox News couldn't come to an agreement. Thus, they butted heads and thus they came to a mutual agreement that it was time to go. Now, if you believe that, so be it. But I think, again, there's too many variables at play here that we could call coincidences. For example, Fox News was under tremendous pressure because of the quote, again, I quote, the election fraud or election lies. Thus, they were in a long legal battle and settled for nearly $1 billion. And then right after that, coincidentally, they lost Dan Bongino, who, again, he alleged that they just wasn't going to pay him enough and he had to move on. Then we go to coincidence number 3, which is Tucker Carlson just couldn't come to mutual agreements with Fox News. The direction, was it this or was it that? Or again, when we just from the video clips I just let you listen to, was this something much bigger at play? Was it because of things that Carlson was exposing the mainstream media to? Was it things that he was exposing to the general public, letting be known? The fact that he was, quote, parroting what the left wing would say the right wing extremists were saying, and the Trumpers and the Trump administration was saying. I don't know. I guess it's just 3 coincidences. And then there's a 4th coincidence that Don Lemon on the very same day gets fired. Is it all a coincidence, or is this all the same bird with 2 wings? Or should I say it like this? 2 wings of the same bird. Fox News, CNN, the 2 wings of the same bird. The same bird, meaning, watch this, it's going to be the same narrative, the same perspective, and the one voice that the nation is going to hear. And you say, what are you talking about? Well, let me pull up some history here without naming names, because we don't want to do that. Let's talk about a certain regime that existed in the we'll say in the 1920s, all the way up to about early 1950s. There was a certain regime who used a combination of censorship, propaganda, and manipulation to control the media and shape public opinion in line with this certain individual's ideology and consolidation of power. For example, This certain regime nationalized the press, radio, and other media outlets, making them state-owned and subject to strict censorship. The government controlled the content of newspapers, magazines, radio broadcasts, films, and other forms of media. Censorship boards were established to ensure that all media content adhered to the official party line and promoted the regime's ideology. Number 2, this certain regime used propaganda extensively to shape public opinion and promote the personality centered around the individual that was leading the cause. Newspapers, posters, films, and other forms of media were used to glorify this individual and his policies while portraying him as a great leader and hero. Propaganda was also used to demonize political opponents, both real and perceived, and to maintain a sense of fear and loyalty among the general population. Number 3, intimidation was used under this regime, in which they used repressive measures, including arrest, imprisonment, and executions to silence dissenting voices and intimidate journalists, writers, and other media professionals who were critical of their regime. Many journalists and writers were arrested or executed for expressing opinions that deviated from the official party line or for being perceived as a threat to this rule or this administration. This created a climate of fear and self-censorship among the media community. Number 4, this regime controlled information and sources. In fact, it was so tightly controlled, there was a dissemination of information and sources available to the media. Access to foreign media was absolutely restricted, and foreign journalists were closely monitored. Only officially approved sources and narratives were allowed. And independent journalism or reporting on sensitive topics was strictly forbidden. Journalists and editors who deviated from the official party line or published unauthorized information risked severe consequences and penalties. And then, last but not least, this regime, without naming names, of course, manipulated history and facts to suit its ideological agenda. Historical events and facts were often distorted or rewritten to conform to the regime's propaganda and justify its policies. Media outlets were used to disseminate false information, promote conspiracy theories, and create a, quote, false sense of unity and success under its particular leadership. So let me ask you a question. Because I'm just some ignorant redneck that was born in Kentucky. So what do I know? So let me just ask you a question, since we're just having a conversation here. Are we seeing this same pattern rise again? For example, are we seeing strict control over press, radio, media outlets, in which newspapers, magazines, radio broadcasts, films, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook? Is there censorship boards? Has there been censorship boards established to ensure that all media content adheres to the official narrative? I don't know. I'm just asking a question. I'm out of the loop. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. Is there propaganda out there that is extensively being shaped or extensively being used to shape the public opinion around certain parties and individuals, such as newspapers, posters, films, forms of media? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Is there repressive measures, including threats, censorships, and termination of their jobs if they deviate from the official narrative? I don't know. You tell me. Is there a climate of fear and self-censorship among the media community? I mean, is YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, do all these, is there certain parties and groups of individuals that are having to walk on eggshells because if they say certain things or if they say anything against the narrative, then that there's a fear that they'll be silenced or shadow banned or censored or completely deplatformed? I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm asking for a friend. Is there a control of information and sources? You tell me. And then last but not least, is history being manipulated in school textbooks and history, even through archaeological finds, anthropologists, and so on and so forth? Is history being manipulated, controlled, and distorted? I don't know. You tell me. So, here's where I want to, this is where I said all that to get to this part right here. The reason why I don't like politics is because I know Bible prophecy. I know the end times. I know, prophetically speaking, where we're going. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if it's the donkey party. I don't care if it's the elephant party. I don't care if you're the independent. I don't care about all of this. Eventually, listen to me and listen to me real clearly. Eventually, all of these parties are all going to be on board. You say, well, Brother Ricky, I don't see that. Really? Open your eyes and look around. I don't care if they're the ultra right-wing conservative network or if they're the ultra left-wing liberal network. They are all going to be all of the same feather from the same bird. And eventually, all the media, the news outlets, etc., are going to be controlled by one regime and one voice. All of it's going to have one narrative. Now, they may label themselves as we are for the, quote, conservatives, or we're for the independents, or we're from this organization or from that organization. But you better clean out your ears and listen to what they're saying and they're reporting and what they're not reporting and what they're not saying. Look at the direction that Fox News has gone in the last 10 years. Fox News is not the conservative network that your mom and dad grew up listening to or your grandparents listened to. Look who they are putting on the chopping block. Look at the voices that they're silencing and removing, and look who they're keeping. You want to find out who the sellouts are? You'll find out real quick. So again, I want to say that eventually what's going to happen is all of these outlets are going to parrot the same thing. It's all going to be the same narrative. It's going to be the same report. It's going to be the same outcome. And it's all going to favor a particular regime, whoever that regime is in the future. In the tribulation, the Antichrist. And I want you to think, I want to leave you with this, and then I'm going to move on from this political stuff because I don't even like it. If we're eventually going to get there, Revelation 13, don't you think there's going to have to be small steps to prepare society to get to that point? So in other words, if that's where we're going, don't you think we're going to see small steps leading to that? Meaning, we're not going to go in the other direction. We're going to go in the direction of a one world government, one unified voice, and one particular agenda led by one man. Again, all this is Bible prophecy. Revelation 13. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I spend way too long, more than I wanted to. 23 minutes. That is 20 minutes too long than I wanted to spend on politics. But we're going to move on. Let's go to the UFO stuff. According to a report, newly released UFO video broken down frame by Pentagon official, calling it truly anomalous. According to the report, the Pentagon released yet another video of a, quote, reported UFO flying at a high rate of speed in the vicinity of Air Force MQ-9 Reaper drones that, quote, showed some really interesting things that everyone thought was anomalous. So again, the UFO narrative is building back up again, because not only, and we're going to show you a video clip that's more on this just a second, but then I'm going to show you a report that came from a model who caught one of these things from the cockpit of a video, and this is being deemed one of the most extraordinary videos of UFOs ever captured. So watch this little video clip, and then we'll get back.
For generations, our fascination with UFOs and aliens have fueled hit TV shows like X-Files, iconic films,
E.T. phone home,
and comedy sketches.
They were gray with big fat eyes, little mouths.
But for some real-life pilots,
It's not a satellite, it's not a meteor.
mysterious objects they've recently spotted in the skies are proving that truth is stranger than fiction.
There's nothing that flies that high. So the odds of it being a military aircraft doing high G loads like that, it's impossible. It's either artificial or biological.
A Pew Research Center survey shows 2/3 of Americans believe intelligent life exists on other planets, and more unexplainable sightings are adding to the growing push for answers from the U.S. government.
We cannot keep turning a blind eye to surveillance data that is critical to detecting and tracking UAP.
This week on Capitol Hill, the top Pentagon official reviewing unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, says they're investigating roughly 650 cases. That's up from more than 500 reported at the beginning of the year.
The majority of unidentified objects reported to AARO demonstrate mundane characteristics of balloons, unmanned aerial systems, clutter, natural phenomena, or other readily explainable sources.
Splash.
And so far, no proof any of them are aliens.
All right, here we go, guys. Mystery craft soars past models plane at 20,000 feet and what's being deemed the best UFO footage ever. According to the report, in a clip that was shared on her Instagram story, this model was flying at an altitude of 20,000 feet under a bright blue sky, and about 10 seconds into the video, a small black dot appears on the right side of the screen, wherein which a disc-shaped saucer zooms past the cockpit and banks to one side before sliding past the airplane. We've got a video on this too. I want to pull this up. All right, I've got this video pulled up. This is from the Hidden Underbelly 2.0 on YouTube. So we're going to play his video here, and where which he shows the footage of this. Here it is. Check this out.
Okay, guys, we have got this crazy piece of footage to take a look at that was captured from this pilot's plane. So guys, let's have a look at the footage, and then we'll have a real quick chat afterwards.
So here you saw the object come from the right of your screen or from the right of the cockpit, and it zoomed in, and here is where they snapped the still photo of this so you can really get a really clear shot at this. And then you saw it zoom past afterwards.
Guys, you may have noticed that the map was missing from the beginning of this video, and that is because I haven't got the exact location. The only thing I really know is that this was captured on the 4th of April 2023. And in this footage, we can see this object come in, and it seems to bank as if it's avoiding the plane. Now guys, I think this is an incredible close-up footage of what we are looking for, a UFO.
So anyway, that's his, this is his take on this. So since this video was taken, they're now saying this was filmed over Colombia, this video footage of this quote unquote UFO. So again, the narrative is what I'm saying. This narrative of this, what they're trying to say, this extraterrestrial phenomena that is building up, and what I believe could be one of the greatest deceptions of mankind pulled off by Satan. You've heard me. We have done countless segments on this in podcasts in the past. If you're new to the broadcast, if you look at our archives, we talked about in Thessalonians, it talks about lying signs and wonders. It talks about all these things. And I think this is what falls into that category. It's either one of two things, guys. It's either military in origin or it is demonic in origin. Meaning, when I say demonic in origin, fallen angels, the Nephilim, it could be angelic in nature. So all of these things can fall in that category too. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about weird stuff. It is Monday, April 24th, and we've got weird stuff going on. Everything from the media to you got this going on. And then check out this story. This is from Texas. I want to pull this up too and talk about this. 6 cattle mysteriously died in Texas. All of them had their tongues removed. This is from NBC News. The apparent mutilation was done with precision cuts. Let me read on. They went on. It says that their tongues were removed, the hide around one side of their mouths gone, and there was no blood spilled. This is according to authorities there in Texas. The cause of death for 6 animals was unknown. This is according to the Madison County Sheriff's Office, who said in a statement this past Wednesday, and as of Friday, there have been no updates in the case. According to the report, the cattle were found along Texas State Highway in 3 counties, Madison, Brazos, and Robertson. Each animal was part of a different herd in a different pasture. 5 of the animals were adults, according to the sheriff, and 1 was a yearling. He went on to say it was not immediately clear when they died, and the sex of the animals was not disclosed. I don't understand why that is. I guess they don't want to offend the cattle because, they got to properly identify their gender. Who knows? Whatever. I told you it's weird. Who knows at this point? Nevertheless, in 2 cases, the animals' genitalia and anuses had been removed with a circular cut that the sheriff's office said had been made with, quote, the same precision as the cuts noted around the jaw lines of each cow. Investors with the Madison County Sheriff's Office discovered 5 of the deaths after ranchers alerted authorities to a dead 6-year-old longhorn cross cow, according to the statement. The grass around the bodies of all 6 animals was undisturbed. Well, that's disturbing. No pun there. I'm not trying to be weird, but that's weird. With no signs of struggle and no footprints or tire tracks found, according to the sheriff. So let's recap this. 6 cattle, all died, all tongues removed, absolute precise surgical procedures done, no blood, no disturbance around the grass in which there is evidence that someone had done this or tampered with this, footprints, no human activity discovered, no sign of struggle, no footprints, no tire tracks. What are we talking about here, guys? Again, this is something that's been around for a long time. A simple research on this, if you do simple research on this particular subject, you will discover that these are called cow mutilations or cattle mutilations. They're often associated with mysterious and unexplained phenomenon that involve the death and mutilation of the cattle, typically with specific surgical-like precision. Now, over the years, there's been various theories and speculations that what could cause this. So I want to give you 5 possible theories on this. Number 1 is this is, quote, and some of these are laughable, okay? Like this one, natural predation, meaning predators are involved in this or they are responsible, such as wild animals, birds of prey, coyotes, vultures, carrion beetles. I told you it's going to be laughable. One theory is, this is the result, of natural predation. They are responsible for removing soft tissues from the carcass, creating the appearance of, quote, surgical-like procedure. Well, listen, again, I know I'm not an expert in this, but I've never come across a carcass in the road that's been killed run over by a vehicle on the side of the road, or killed on a ranch or on a farm, in which the prey that ate it made clean-cut surgical procedures with precision, in which there was no blood, no animal tracks, no signs of struggle, and no evidence that there was anything around it. I'm just saying, never seen it. I stand to be corrected, but I've never seen that. All right, number 2, human activities. Some can be caused by humans, such as poachers or individuals engaged in illegal activities. Well, sure, that's not far-fetched. In some cases, cattle may be killed for their meat or specific body parts, and the mutilation could be an attempt to cover up evidence. So let's talk about that for a second. Is this human activity? Well, again, no signs of struggle, no tire prints, no footprints, no rustling in the grass, no evidence. And again, unless somebody's going around collecting tongues of cattle and the anuses of cattle, not much doesn't make no sense there. I'm just saying. Again, what do I know? I'm just, a Kentucky. I'm just a what you call a country boy from Kentucky, right? Then we have the theory of natural decomposition. For example, after death, natural decomposition processes can cause the body of a cow to undergo changes that may be, quote, misinterpreted as mutilation. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. I mean, I know these cattle ranchers have been doing this for years and all their life, but there might be just some ignorant ranchers out there that don't know the difference between natural decomposition and precise surgical procedures. I mean, come on. I know I've got some ranchers out there that can come forward and give us some emails and messages and can give us some testimonies of how you had some cattle that naturally died and their anuses fell off and their tongues fell out and there was no blood, and it just so happened that when their tongues fell out of their mouths or their anuses fell off, that it left precise surgical precisions. I'm just saying, I mean, come on. I know you guys are out there. You got to email us and let us know so that we don't look like conspiracy theorists and nut jobs. And then there's number 4, animal diseases or infections. In some cases, diseases or infections may cause localized tissue damage or deformities in cows, which could be mistaken for mutilation. So there we go, guys. It's probably just a crazy case of mad cow disease. I'm just saying, that's probably what's going on here. Then there's number 5, which is hoaxes or misinterpretation. It's also possible that some of these mutilations are hoaxes or misinterpretations of natural phenomena. For example, pranks, misinformation, or sensationalism can lead to exaggerated or false claims about cow mutilation. I mean, look, I know you've heard of cow tipping, but maybe this is just the next generation's good time. Maybe they got around and they had one too many to drink, and somebody said, hey, want to go cow tipping tonight? And the other one said, man, that is so 80s and 90s. We don't do that anymore. Look at this. I've got a scalpel and I've got a way. And I can't tell you how I'm going to do it because we can't use our vehicle because that'll show tire tracks. We can't go on foot because that'll show footprints and it'll show the grass being pressed down. Don't worry about how we're going to get there, but I'm going to take a scalpel. We're going to pass out scalpels, and man, we are going to have some fun tonight. And they'll never catch on to it. So you say, listen, with all the fun stuff aside and joking around, you say, well, Brother Ricky, what is it? Look, I don't know. I'm not an expert in it, but I think it's weird. I can't explain it. That's why it's called unexplainable, weird, a phenomena. But I can tell you this has been, you ever heard of the Skinwalker Ranch? This stuff has been going on for decades. Now, again, I'm not going to go into the whole, it's UFOs, it's aliens, it's extraterrestrials, it's Bigfoot, it's this, it's that, it's this. Again, I'm only reporting. I'm just telling you, this is the official report. You can do what you want with it. All right, now let's move on to the next story. Did you know that the Earth got struck with 2 powerful solar flares? In fact, they were so powerful that they produced northern lights that was visible spanning across dozens of states last night. And again, this was due to a powerful solar storm. Listen, hit us up in the comments if you were in one of the states where you could see this. If you could post photos of it, let us see it. Show us in the comments. I don't know if you're able to do that or if they'll permit it, but if you have photos of it, we'd love to see it. Again, even as far as south as Alabama was reporting these visible auroras from these back-to-back powerful solar storms. In fact, they were so powerful that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration registered a level 4 out of 5 on the geomagnetic storm impact scale as nightfall approached last night on Sunday. Again, I'm going to read this. When a CME, that's a coronal mass ejection, arrives at Earth, it can produce some of the largest geomagnetic storms and thus some of the brightest and most active auroras that extend furthest towards the equator. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because, did you know that there has been some powerful solar storms in our history? For example, there was an event in 1859 called the Carrington event. This was named after the British astronomer Richard Carrington, and this was considered to be one of the most powerful solar storms in recorded history. It occurred on the September 1st and 2nd of 1859 and is estimated to have been an X-class solar flare, which is the highest classification. The resulting geomagnetic storm caused auroras to be visible as far south as the Caribbean and caused widespread disruption to telegraph systems, resulting in fires and other damage. And the experts in this said if this was to happen again, if something this powerful was to happen in our lifetime, it would be catastrophic. So, and there's other, you had the solar storm of 1989. This was over Canada that left millions of people without electricity for several hours. Then there was the Halloween solar storms of 2003. It caused satellite disruptions, satellite communication disruptions, radio communication disruptions, GPS signals were failing, and even high-frequency radio communication blackouts in some regions. Then there was the solar storm of 2012, which took place in July of 2012, in which a X-class solar flare erupted from the sun, but fortunately, it was not directly aimed at Earth and did not cause significant impacts. However, they say if it would have been directed towards Earth, it could have potentially caused disruptions to satellite communications, power grid failures, and other technological system failures. So this is why this is a big deal, and this is why we're talking about this. There's been some, again, Jesus said there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. Are y'all hearing me today? So speaking of sun, China just ran an artificial sun for approximately 403 seconds, leaving it to be almost 4 times the previous world record. This took place last Wednesday night, in which China generated extremely hot, highly confined plasma for nearly 7 minutes. According to the report, the experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, or the East, EAST, in the city of Hefei in eastern China generated and sustained plasma for 403 seconds. Again, this shattered his previous record of 101 seconds back in 2017 and marking another key step towards, quote, building high efficiency, low cost thermonuclear fusion reactors. Now, in case you're wondering why are they doing this? Well, China, and China's not the only one that's really embarking into this, but they're the ones. They're always, you ever notice this? China seems like they're always the ones on the forefront of doing some crazy experiments. Hello, the virus. But anyway, let's move on from there. And everybody else pays the penalty of this. Is terrifying. Because we're not talking about something created in a lab here. We're talking about they're trying to create an artificial sun. But the point of this is these are developmental efforts in the field of nuclear fusion to create an artificial sun as a potential new source of, quote, clean and abundant energy. Now, I'm sure America would never jump on board with that, right? Right. This thing is known as the fusion reactor, or a tokamak. And in case this kind of sounds eerily familiar, it kind of sounds like the Hadron Collider. CERN. This is what they're doing in Switzerland, where they're trying to recreate the Big Bang Theory. This type of experimental nuclear fusion device aims to replicate the process that powers the sun and the stars. So not only are these crazy scientists and experts trying to recreate the Big Bang Theory or the creation of the universe, now they're trying to replicate the process that powers the sun and stars. Nuclear fusion is the process of combining light atomic nuclei, such as hydrogen isotopes, to form a heavier nucleus, releasing a tremendous amount of energy in the process. Again, what could possibly go wrong? It has the potential to provide a nearly limitless and environmentally friendly source of energy. Oh, well, Brother Ricky, there's no sense in losing sleep over it, because after all, it has the power to provide limitless and environmentally friendly source of energy. And by the way, our blessed vice president even said in a recent video statement, or some kind of a conference or a press conference or whatever it was, an interview, she said that people are becoming they're suffering from what we would call climate change anxiety. So we want to calm all the climate change anxiety fears, because we are working on creating an artificial sun. Because after all, it doesn't produce greenhouse gas emissions, or it doesn't generate radioactive waste. And by the way, just in case you're like me and you have common sense and you actually worry or speculate what could the possible harm be of trying to be God and create an artificial sun, I looked this up and I thought this was kind of interesting. And it says, quote, what could go wrong with China's artificial sun? So I just happened to Google it. And I'm going to read this to you. Quote, the hot gas formed by fusing atoms burns or melts everything it touches, while the nuclear reaction generates a large amount of high-speed particles that could damage buildings or human tissue if not properly contained. But listen, I want to calm everyone's fears, because China has no track record of ever failing to contain anything that could be potentially dangerous to society. So there's no sense in losing sleep over it. I'm just saying. They have a great track record. Everything's going to be great. No need to fear. Just, you've got far greater things to worry about. Anyway, so I told you it was going to get weird today. It's going to be interesting. It was going to be an interesting today. So we've got crazy things happening in the political arena. We've got the UFOs showing up again. Who knows what they are? Are they military? Are they this? Are they that? And again, I've told you my perspective on that. Then we've got massive solar storms, geomagnetic solar storms that are getting more intense. And there is this possibility, and experts are saying it's not a matter of if, but when we see something like the Carrington event happen in our lifetime. Now, I do want to say this. When I hear about stuff like this, I think of Revelation chapter 16. Now, this is in mid-tribulation. We're not there yet, but it talks about in Revelation 16:8 that there will be an angel that will pour out his bowl on the sun, and power was given to him to scorch men with fire. And the Bible says in verse 9 of Revelation 16 that men will be scorched with great heat, and they will blaspheme the name of God who has power over the 3 plagues, and they will not repent. So again, we can all sit around and speculate what this is, what will fulfill this. But here again, we see that there's coming a time in the tribulation where there will be something's going to happen, and it's going to involve directly an angel. An angel will pour a bowl upon the sun, and as a result of that, men on the earth will be scorched with great heat. Now, what could bring about that? What would that look like on earth? Is that a solar flare? Is that a solar storm? Could it be some kind of an experiment gone wrong, like I just showed you and we just discussed here that's coming out of China? I don't know. Again, we can only speculate because John didn't know. John was trying to grasp words from the vocabulary that he had in 95 AD to articulate and form a depiction of something that would happen way out into the future. And here we are in 2023, and we're still not there yet. So let me bring this full circle. So all this, guys, is leading, I think, again, I'm telling you, these are all steps leading to the fulfillment of everything that we read about in prophecy. The formation of a one world government, these plagues, these disasters, deception, lying signs and wonders, all of it's right there. It's in the book. It's in your Bible, and all this stuff is leading to this. So I want to leave you with Luke 21:20. I know today's been a little bit different. Some of y'all was hoping I would preach the house down. And listen, we're going to preach some messages this week, but today's just kind of been an information segment from a biblical perspective. But Luke 21:28 is what I leave you with. Jesus said, when you begin to see all these things coming to pass, he said, you better look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption is drawing near. Listen, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. Again, that's going to be our main website. You got the front door and the back door, endtimeheadlines.org and .com. Both lead you there to the same page. Again, don't forget to download our free app available on Apple and Android. Get it today. Get it into your hands. Hit yes to push notifications so that you can catch all of our segments like this on podcasts and all of our headlines. And as always, guys, if this ministry is a blessing to you and you'd like to support this ministry with a gift of any amount, you pray about it. You can do that 2 different ways. You can give electronically through the app right there on the bottom where it says donate, or through the main website, or you can give what we call the old school method, by check or by money order, and you can make that right there on your screen. Or if you're listening by Apple or Spotify, you can make it out to End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391. That's Monroe, Georgia 30655. Listen, guys, again, we're going to sign off today. Don't forget that subscribe button, that push notification, the like button, so you can keep up with our ministry. We're going to sign off on this Monday, the 24th. We'll be back tomorrow on Tuesday, April 25th, and we'll have another great podcast for you then. Until then, may the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.